Hey friends, it's Carla from Creative Love Affair, and I'm here today for the Emerald Creek Craft Supplies blog. Our theme this month, which is August 2018, is outdoors, and I am choosing to do a bright rainbow sunshine unicorn card for my outdoors theme. So I've grabbed this cute unicorn stamp. It's the large unicorn from the Emerald Creek shop, and I've grabbed some colors that I'm going to use for my rainbow. I've got a large assortment of stamps, and I'm showing you how you can combine your stamps and use your powders and just really have fun. So I've grabbed this Sunshine from a Stampin' Up! Rainbow stamp set, and I'm inking it with some Distress Oxide inks, and I'm going to emboss with some vintage beeswax. Now this is kind of an experiment at this point, and I'm seeing if the vintage beeswax powder is going to stick to the Distress Oxide ink. It does stay wet a little bit longer, but it just doesn't stay wet enough. So I've decided to go over it with some Versamark ink, which is a sticky ink and great for embossing powder. And you can see that this vintage beeswax, which is a clear thick powder, is going to stick a lot better just by using a layer of the Versamark ink. So I usually heat from the bottom, especially with the little bit thicker powders, just because I find then my powders don't fly all over the place. You can see how nice and glossy that sunshine gets. Then I'm laying this back down, and I'm going to start stamping my rainbow with the Stampin' Up! Stamp set, and it's kind of a sketchy water brush look rainbow. So this time what I'm doing is actually inking up with my Versamark ink pad, and I lay down about 3 layers of Versamark. I don't think you really have to, but that's what I've decided to do. And then I grab an orange Distress Oxide ink, and I'm inking that. Now sometimes I find that if I have a base of color, if my embossing powders don't stick completely, I still have lots of color underneath. But because I put that Versamark on there, really I didn't need that layer of color. So I poured on the Thanksgiving embossing powder, which is a beautiful combination of gorgeous oranges with some reds in there and some golds. And I just thought this would be perfect for the first layer of my rainbow. You can see how beautifully it melts and how you get all those shimmery colors. Now for my next layer, I'm going to go with a bit of a green layer, and even though I don't show every time, I do end up doing the 3 layers of Versamark and about 2 layers of Distress Oxide ink. I've got green sparkle this time, and it is a beautiful green, and it has a beautiful shimmer of silver in there, and when they melt together it is just gorgeous. So you can see once it melts, and it melts pretty quickly, that shine is beautiful. And the next layer I use a purple underneath, but again you really didn't need it because this Northern Lights powder covers it beautifully. And I did start off with the Versamark as well. I really love the Northern Lights. It has some beautiful blues in there, darks and lights, along with some purples. And I just felt like this combination gave me some beautiful rainbow colors. Now I'm going to stamp with the nice little unicorn, and that's from Emerald Creek Craft Supplies. And this is a rubber stamp that is cling, and it clings to your stamp block and stamps absolutely gorgeously. Now I'm taking a Waffle Flower Sentiment, and I'm going to ink it with some Versamark ink and then some archival ink, and I'm going to emboss with this beautiful black cherry aroma powder. And if you haven't tried the Emerald Creek aroma powders, you are totally in for a treat. So they smell amazing. This smells exactly like cherries, and it actually is scented before and after, so it just gives a really neat effect to your card. Now I've grabbed another stamp set. This one's from Your Next Stamp, and I've just got a little bit of stars here from their unicorn stamp set, and I'm stamping them with some Versamark, some blue Distress Oxide, and then this Winter's Mistake embossing powder, which is white and it stays a little bit puffy. This powder ends up having a bit of a texture. It's got some glitter in it, and you don't heat it till it's completely clear. You just heat it till it's lightly melted. So then I'm stamping on some little stars here, a little bit of bling stars from another stamp set from Pink and Maine. And now I'm taking the Wish charm from Emerald Creek, and it's beautiful the way it is, but I decided to add a little bit of embossing powder using the charred gold. I love the charred gold. It has elements of black and the gold that melt beautifully. So I just add Versamark directly onto that charm, and you do have to be careful when you melt it because it is metal and it will stay warm for a longer amount of time. But you can see how beautifully that ends up after you add a little bit of embossing powder. So now to color my unicorn in, I've just grabbed some Jane Davenport colored pencils, and I'm just lightly adding a little shading with the gray because I want the unicorn to stay pretty much white, and I'm just adding this colored pencil right around the edges. Now I've got some chalkboard mist in the chalk from Tattered Angels, and I've filled up my Wink of Stella clear pen because it was empty, and I really love the chalkboard mist. It adds a clear sparkle, and I've grabbed the Wink of Stella, which has the actual Wink of Stella ink in these two pens in silver and gold, and I'm just adding the silver and the gold to this unicorn's mane, and it goes on really nicely. This is a piece of cardstock that I'm stamping directly onto the top of the card base. It's a little bit thicker cardstock, and it really stands up well to being stamped on and embossed on. I don't do a lot of one layer cards, and I do actually add a few things on top, so it's not exactly a one layer, but it is directly on the card base. So I've colored in that unicorn horn and added a little more shimmer with the chalkboard mist, and now I'm just adding a little shadow because I feel like you should always have a little grounding to the images that you color. And here's the pretty shimmer for that unicorn. I really love how beautiful and elegant this unicorn is. I'm adding some clouds cut out of felt using a Your Next Stamp cloud die. And if you're cutting with felt using your dies, just want to make sure to back the felt with some paper so that you cut both layers at once. I add some pretty ribbon through the ends of the charm, and I just tie it up and let those tails hang down here. With the charms, I find that the best way to stick them on is to add a little bit of some matte. I've got some multi-medium matte or gloss glue. It's just a matte medium glue, and then I actually glue the edges of the tails of that ribbon down as well with a little bit of the matte medium, and I put some sequins on there, adding the matte medium as well. And here you can see the finished card and all the beautiful colors in those embossing powders, and I really love the way this turned out. So I hope you'll stop by the Emerald Creek Craft Supply store. I'll put the links below, and you can hop over to the blog post and see some close-ups. Thanks so much for stopping by.